All right, so
Yes, we are streaming and let me go ahead and start the recording.
all right, so we'll call this meeting to order. And we will start with a roll call from Carrie, but we do have an inspiration today here on the agenda from Angela Davis. You have to act as if it were possible to radically transform the world, and you have to do it all the time. So sometimes I need a little boost and I search around on the internet for things. So hopefully that's a boost for you guys too. And you can go ahead with roll call.
Okay, so here is roll call. We will start with Emmett Hopkins.
I am here and I think participating as the public today, but
Yeah,
I'm here.
And Emmett, we do not have a quorum today, no matter what, so I think that makes absolute sense. It'll just be kind of a catch up on coordination items today.
Cool, thanks.
Is roll call. We will start with Emmett Hopkins. Let me get that shut down. Okay.
Present.
So Alex Goodman,
Here.
Dina Allen. And Dina is not here. Joshua Somane. Joshua is sitting right next to me. Kenna Lee,
I'm here.
Lisa Pierce.
Here.
Excellent. We will have a little bit of sound issues today, everybody, just because we don't have the room audio set up. So we are actually running this on Zoom and YouTube. Debbie Burns is not here today. Sunali is not here. Zeno here? Okay. Ambrosia Thompson is not able to make it. Everett Fernandez also is not able to make it. Diana Rich is not here yet, but she is on her way. And Sandy Maurer has noted that she would not be able to attend today. And we do have Dina Allen just got here. So thank you, Dina.
All right, so hi, everyone. Dina, just to orient you, Emmett and Alex are online as members of the public so that they're not using up their 2 Zooms a year. We don't have a quorum today, so we're not planning on deciding anything anyway. So it seems like fine to just move forward. So review of action items from last meeting. I was to get a list of working group members to Carrie, and I believe I did that. I was also supposed to get the Apple Blossom Parade and fair info parade info to the group, which happened. Everyone was supposed to do their ethics training. Do we have any outstanding business on that you know?
That was a chunk in that ethics thing.
Yeah, took a while.
I do not have a list of who it is, but if you've not done it yet, you got a friendly reminder from Carrie Vasquez. Please all of it. And I know I did have a couple of folks from other committees contacted. So if you do need additional login information.
Hey, Carrie, you're muted.
Sorry about that, everybody. So for the ethics training, if you have not done it yet, you did get a reminder. You should have gotten a reminder from either Vector Solutions and or Carrie Vasquez at City Hall today, letting you know. I do not have a list from her of who has not done it. But if you did get that reminder, please do that. Again, the email will come from Vector Solutions, so please check your spam box. Or coordinate with Carrie Vasquez to get the link again if you need.
Thank you. And then our last action item from last time was staff was going to move the resolution forward that we had passed the previous, or that we had recommended the previous meeting.
Yeah, is that the SP 252?
Yes.
Okay, so, and I did ask for that to be on the regular agenda. Do you want me to just report on that?
No, it's fine. We'll
Okay.
cover it when we get there. All right, so do we have any members of the public who would like to comment on items not on the agenda? Not today. All right, so any statements of conflict of interest? I think we can skip that since we're not making any decisions, right? No, let's just, okay, no skipping. Anybody, conflicts of interest? No, okay. So planning department reports.
Thank you, Kenna. So some good news and some bad news. The good news is that we have extended an offer for a planning technician, permanent planning technician for the planning department, and she has accepted. So she's going through the various screenings and onboarding right now. Will likely start beginning of July. In the meantime, obviously, many of you have talked and coordinated with Elise on either Monday or Tuesday, and Nico on Wednesday and Thursday. They will be continuing until that time. So that's good news to get that process underway. And you will meet her. She will be, well, I guess this sort of segues in the next, which is the budget update, which has been in the local papers, so I'm sure you've seen, but we've had significant budget discussions with the subcommittee this year. We submitted our budgets. I spoke with Vice Mayor Rich prior to submitting mine, just in terms of some of the climate action. There were a couple items that I had left out or reduced, like Holly Hansen's time, knowing that the planning technician will be taking some of that over. But all of the department heads were asked to cut 10% out of their budget, which is pretty significant since there's, I think I calculated for my budget, it's about 7% is discretionary. i.e. not contracts like LAFCO dues that are just required, or copier expenses or salaries and that kind of stuff that we can't. So I did submit the 10% reduction. It did include dropping off a number of the nice to haves, which did impact this committee. So the Civic Spark, which we were looking at a potential for next year, that was a significant chunk of that. I also reduced the Holly Hansen support even further. Again, the planning technician we will have on board in July will be trained in our, oh, Diana, I had a seat for here for you if you wanted. I had a seat here for you if you wanted. And I did, one of the other adjustments was to the technologies part from, for our planning commission meeting, but also for this meeting, which wasn't an ad, it was just not an ad, is that the planning technician will be staffing and running the Zoom so that whoever's coordinating this meeting, myself or John, can concentrate on facilitating the meeting, and she's running the Zoom and the YouTube and that kind of stuff. So that'll be really helpful. I think there was also some artist support for the upcycle art and a couple other things that were removed. And then we did remove the zero waste. I think it was a fill station and some of the outreach, with the note that if we get grant funding for that, we can put that back in. So that's
the eco station.
Yeah, the eco station. Yeah. So those were removed. And then I had some other stuff on the other non-climate action committee. We don't need to go over those too much, but that's kind of the update on the budget. The subcommittee has one more meeting on Wednesday, tomorrow morning.
Yes.
I don't think it'll be and actually, Vice Mayor Rich,
No.
I'm just gonna ask you to report on what that is, because you probably know what that's
Sure.
gonna cover more
So, no,
totally.
when the Wednesday, the meeting tomorrow has been canceled.
Oh, okay.
And instead, we are going to be meeting on Monday. I'll pull up the time of that, and make sure that it's been posted. But the Monday meeting will be a final meeting of the budget committee. And we've asked our finance director to go over all of the numbers. And we'll be assessing where we are in terms of the reserve, there are a number of issues. One is trying to maintain our 15% reserve, which is 15% each year of the total expenditures. So you look at the expenditures, which I think now are tailored down to maybe 12 million. So 10% of that number, 15% of that number is what we're trying to target for reserves. So that'll be one goal. And then we also have some issues regarding a couple of other funds, the water fund and the sewer fund. The sewer fund is underwater. Isn't that cute? So there's an issue there. And then looking at other possible positions that might be upcoming. So really doing a big umbrella analysis of where we are financially, pinning down the numbers after a gazillion changes, which Carrie is very aware of because she participated in all of that, in order to then be able to put together the staff report and bring it to the city council, the full city council, because remember, we're just the budget committee. Some big changes that have happened in the budget. There's been a real press to reduce a lot of expenses, including anything that might be considered discretionary. The one that was compelling to me was when we decided, in essence, to take our community benefit grants and really just it used to be 1% of the entire expenditures. So last year it was about $80,000 to $90,000 that we distributed. And we, in essence, suspended them. We line itemed $500 per each of 8. But that gives you an idea of where we feel we are in terms of the budget, but we'll pin it down. So that's the final meeting. And then theoretically,
10 a.m. I just checked.
oh,
this
thank
here.
you. And theoretically, and you can participate by Zoom for the excitement of that meeting. It will be a long meeting. The goal is really to wrap things up and go over the numbers once again through an equity lens. And the plan had been to present the budget initially to the city council, full city council, on June 6th, but that's being reassessed. And I won't be surprised. There's been no decision made, but I won't be at all surprised if what we do is set it for initial presentation to the city council at a meeting after that, maybe the second one in June. And then we're expecting a lot of discussion because there's a lot of issues. So probably a special meeting, I would think sometime in July. What that entails is that we'll have to, as part of that process, agree to an extension of the current budget beyond June 30th for some period of time. So that's all, in the mix. Hasn't been decided, but that's what I expect. So that's the budget. And yeah, it ain't good, but we've got a strong city. We'll work through it. We're just trying to, as much as we can. It's not just about squeaking through for this year. It's about thinking about what's going to happen in 5 years. That's really, yeah, that's really what it's about. We could keep digging in each year to our reserve, but eventually that pocket's going to be empty. Tonight at the city council meeting, one of the items is a revenue feasibility study. So even if you don't want to sign in to watch that portion of the presentation, there is the whole slide set is posted. And you might want to take a look at that because they are going to be looking at all of the various UUT sales tax. He's outlining, it's informational, but the consultant is outlining the various revenue streams. And interestingly, at least for me, compared to the draft, he's actually predicted some results of these various, how much will a quarter-cent sales tax increase bring in? How much will the UUT bring in? So there's some numbers attached. So that's kind of the budget in a nutshell.
Excellent. Thank you, Vice Mayor. You would be a little bit more up on that than I am. So that's kind of been the big thing. I think I'm just going to stop there. There's not our typical stuff is going on in the planning department, but I don't know if there's anything directly related to the climate action committee in that to report on. So unless anyone has any questions.
Can you please give us an update on the grant writer and where we are in that process?
Absolutely. So we are working with California Consulting, the grant writer, and thank you, Stephen Pierce, again for your assistance in the interviewing of that. So that is a grant consultant. It is citywide, not specific to climate stuff, but we are. They are working on a number of grants for us. I actually just met with them yesterday for a potential trail grant to complete the Ives Park pathway project. Which will be on the June 6th agenda for council authorization for that. You haven't even seen that on the agenda yet, I don't think. So the Ives Park has that pathway that goes from High Street all the way to the southwest corner. As you might know, if you walk through the park, it's like so deteriorated, it's almost missing in some spots. So I did apply for a grant a couple of years ago, 2019 actually, which is supporting the first part of that. We're calling it segment 1 in the southwest corner from the picnic tables up to like where the restrooms are in the pool building. But we don't have funding for the remaining to go all the way up and replace it all the way to High Street. But California Consulting has identified a grant that would be an 88% match to 12%. I mean, we would have a 12% match, which we have a park improvement fund and Measure M park funds. And that would be a significant lift to help pay for that. They're also working on a grant for Burbank restrooms, for electric vehicle charging station for that Burnett Street lot where the PG&E grant fell through. So that's a climate related one. And then they're working on a number of other grants and guiding and assisting departments for other, like the police department, the fire department, public works. So there's quite a few going on. So it is ongoing. I don't know how, I think that reports up to council every once in a while.
Well, my question would be, yeah, when will there be a formal, is there a formal reporting
I
process?
think-
I think that's kind of.
Yeah, I
here.
don't, that would be a question for Mary,
Okay. will put
because
it
I
on
don't know
my
all of
list.
them. She knows all of them that are going on, but yeah.
Yeah,
So
'cause-
if there's a council report, we can certainly let you know about that and send it out to you, Stephen. So. But that's a little bit of from, in my perspective, what's going on. And they did send me information about the adaptation grant. I don't think it supports a staff to work on climate stuff, which is from our visioning, our work plan item, and just having had Phoebe and not having a Civic Spark fellow would be great to get someone, a temp staff like Phoebe, or pay for another Civic Spark fellow. That is something they're keeping an eye on. They know that that's of interest. Unfortunately, I think in the state budget, some of that stuff is also, the funding for that stuff is getting cut in Governor Newsom's budget. Yeah, exactly.
Recording in progress.
I will be attending the climate adaptation forum. I'll be attending the climate adaptation forum, the state adaptation forum in July or early August. And so keep an eye out.
Excellent. Yeah.
You have a good sense of what the various projects going on that could utilize funding. So.
All right, so that's our planning department reports. Diana, do you have anything else from city council to report?
Of interest to this. St. Vincent de Paul has an item on the agenda tonight. So this is kind of housing topic, affordable housing. St. Vincent de Paul, have you already gone over this? Okay, St. Vincent de Paul has an item on the agenda tonight. St. Vincent de Paul owns the property at 845 Gravenstein Highway North that Horizon Shine is currently occupying. St. Vincent de Paul's long-term plan is next year in 2024 to look at starting an affordable housing development at that property. And so tonight the item is asking for city partnership in their effort to pursue funding to purchase that property. Is that accurate? You might be better at.
Yeah,
providing
it's
the
actually
details.
they already own the parcel. It's actually up to 22 million, I think is actually we're
Oh,
changing
great.
the rate to
Yeah,
build. And then I think they are going to be asking for some operational dollars, but for them to construct 22 units of deed restricted affordable housing there. The plan they're using is generally based off of a plan that was approved for mixed use development in 2016. So from that perspective, they have a lot of the kind of logistics figured out in terms of where parking is, and it will need to go back through design review since that application had expired, but that, a lot of the site stuff is already kind of worked out because they're using that already worked through site plan, so which is good. The Project Home Key, that's the same funding mechanism that the county purchased the Sebastopol in through. Obviously, this would be just a development of housing on a vacant lot, not purchase of anything other than that, so.
Yeah, so really good. It'll be for very low income housing, which would be a great benefit to us here in Sebastopol. So they're at the beginning of their process, but they tend to get things done. And of course, there will, in the process of this, be substantial discussion in the future housing opportunities for those who are currently at the RV Village. So that's got to be part of the discussion, and St. Vincent de Paul is aware of that, and that is part of those conversations. The other piece, would be a general interest item, which is that that this has to do with the reading of our proclamations at the beginning of every city council meeting. There is an item on the agenda tonight to reduce substantially the time allotted to the reading of those proclamations. So I believe it's just the title of the proclamation. So that should be an interesting discussion. That's drawn some conversation and input from the community. That's about it. Those are the big highlights. A lot going on in town, but it's really, for me personally, it's all about the budget and celebrating all the great stuff like the compost giveaway. Sorry. Oh, and have you said anything about the Apple Blossom Festival?
Kevin noted something, but not
Oh,
specifically.
it was
Not a report.
You're
back
going to
on it.
report on that?
Yeah.
Okay. It was fabulous, just as a city council person, just to see the amazing energy and coordination and positive presentation, and how drawn to the booth everyone was. That was really cool. That's it. That's all I got.
Thank you so much. Okay, so moving on to our regular, I'm just looking at you, Steve, to see if you, a member of the public, want to poke in at any point. We're going to table item A on our regular agenda since Ruby is not here today. And we'll move on to item B, SB 252 support. Back to Carrie.
Thank you. And so this is one where I'm actually here asking for some assistance putting together the staff report. So I know at the last meeting, there was a vote to move it forward to city council. However, and I had contacted Woody, so this is kind of a coordination item. We have sort of the format for staff reports for city council, and I need help getting that filled out so that I can put it on an agenda. I don't actually have time right now to do it myself. So as soon as that's done, I'm happy to get it scheduled for a council. It will be a consent item. I don't think it will be pulled, most likely. This is the fossil fuel stuff again, different bill, but it's
So you just need a volunteer to help.
yeah, I need
fill out that
someone,
form.
yeah, exactly. Someone to help kind of ghostwrite the staff report, or the agenda item report is actually not called staff reports, they're agenda item reports. Yeah, 'cause there's not
Anybody
many staff
excited about
items. I did reach out to Woody, but I haven't heard back from him.
Woody's just
so-
been super, super busy. He was going to try to come today, but he's not. He's got an appointment.
Is there a deadline?
It is a Senate bill, so, but I don't know if there's a deadline. I just gotta, does any? Lisa?
I'm not sure what's involved with, if I know enough or am qualified enough to be able to do it. Maybe if with Woody's help,
Yeah,
possibly.
if you're willing to coordinate, I think it's generally, we have a template that talks about, the climate action voted to do this. This is generally what the bill's about. And then attach the resolution to it. Or the letter, is it a resolution or a letter, if it's a letter of support?
Yeah, I'll try to take it on and see what I can do.
And Lisa, I have, Woody had connected us. I think he could send it to you, Carrie, someone who might be able to help with that.
Oh, good.
So I will
Excellent.
send you that.
So, Carrie, will you, send the resolution? Yes.
And that's all I had on that. So we'll
Okay.
let you know when it goes on council. It may be June 6th if it's a quick turnaround.
Great. So I think we're on to the next item, which is our preliminary electrification survey results. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Okay, well, thanks. Preliminary, because we're not really showing you the draft of the results today. But hey, first, thank you to staff and especially Holly, who kind of stepped in right when we needed some changes and information added to the survey. And at this point, I can say that we got a very good response, 515 responses. So certainly a lot more than I had hoped for. I thought we'd get maybe 300 or so. And I know there was a lot of concern about, hey, are people from inside of Sebastopol, are they in the zip code? Who are the respondents? So let's give a little bit of info about that today, just because I know there were concerns about it. And we'll dig into a lot more detail later on. So 63.5% within Sebastopol city limits, 29% within the 95472 zip code. So, hey, overwhelmingly a local survey. And just as kind of a statistical aside, we actually have an adequate sample size of households in Sebastopol to say we're representing their opinions in the survey. So that's a plus. I didn't think we would get there.
Stephen, on that, will we be able to pull the results that are just within city limits versus outside if we?
We could, but it's not our intention to dive that deep of within city limits.
Right, but the city would have that data separated.
It's all there in the raw data if someone wants to dig into it. And speaking of the raw data, since a lot of our questions had other, so right after the survey ended, I started to compile some of the results, and it took me only an hour to do what the staff had done on a previous survey for the bicycle survey. I don't know if any of you took that. It was about some local bicycle path options in town, and they had a very similar response, by the way, that we did. So it was just what they had done was like a copy and paste job out of Google survey. And that was the staff report on the survey results. So we intend to go much further than that. A big task was going through the questions where there were where people could write in, and there were a lot of them, and we would categorize them. What is the category of the response on that particular question? So we're capturing not just this long laundry list of comments that get added in that copy and paste routine from Google, but actual analysis. We're trying to interpret the results and see what kind of actionable items we can get from it. So there were 172 comments at the end of the survey. We've collected 224 emails where the people are requesting the results of the survey or information on electrification. So that's a big win right there. And the general themes of the survey results is that cost is an issue, not too surprising. It's confusing. There's definitely issues and concerns with the grid. There's general resistance to change. There's lack of understanding, but there's also a 2/3 of the respondents are saying they either are interested in electrification or they may be interested in electrification. So I take that as a definite plus. So we're going to dive into a little bit of what is kind of the context or background of the survey, where we are in electrification, And then, like I was saying before, about interpreting the results and trying to come up with actionable items and next steps. That's it. Are there any questions?
The biggest winner in terms of responses was concern over the grid. No,
That was in the general comments.
yeah, in the
category.
comment category. No big shocker there. Yeah.
And when you say concern over the grid,
It can kind of run a whole gambit of sort of I hate PG&E. I distrust that they're going to be able to do what we have enough power to meet this demand for electrification. I'll go ahead and repeat. I hate PG&E because it's an underlying theme that definitely is there. In the response.
got it. Thank you. Thank you guys so much. This is amazing. And I think it's gonna be
And-
really valuable data.
Jerry, Blazer's been helping too.
Oh,
Yeah.
quite a bit.
Yes, for sure.
It's no small task.
It's no small task. Like I was saying, the kind of tasks that happened with that previous survey, that's easy. But interpreting results actually takes some digging into it.
Well, I just also want to just piggyback on what Steve said. We're extremely grateful we feel like the city was above and beyond in supporting this and promoting it on all the social media and everywhere. And it was really, really a wonderful thing. So thank you, city.
And Stephen, I would say on that one thing that even though it clearly, as you said, is clearly a local survey between in city, pretty much everyone was 95472. And 2/3 were from within the city limits. But when we have that data, and when you have the report, I would like to share it with our CPA as well, because I think like BC Caps and some of the others over there would be very interested in that.
Our CPA, and there are quite a few others that are with, and
Perfect.
we have some connections with that staff too.
Great, so exciting. Well, that was our big news. I think everything else will be pretty quick today. The library arts project update, Sunali is not here. That is scheduled for June 24th at 10 a.m. And I have committed to being there to oversee the artists because I'm not an artist, but I don't know any other details. And apparently there is some question about whether the event is going to happen at all from the library side. But
This is the sidewalk.
yes, yeah, but as far as we know, it's on for June 24th. And I believe we will have a very short approval at their next meeting to approve the artwork or pass it on. So that will need to be on the next agenda as well. So communication workflow process, is that you, Dina? That's
Alex.
That's Alex. Alex, do you want to take the mic? Are you there?
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I just heard the thing, but it just went one ear and out the other. I'm a little
We
under
can't
the
hear
weather
you if you're
today.
talking.
Because
Can you hear me now? Okay, sorry. I was saying I heard what you said, but it just kind of went one ear and out the other 'cause I'm a little under the weather today. What's the topic again?
This was the agenda item about communication workflow and process. I think it had to do with like how stuff gets moved to Holly.
I'm not sure I know anything about
Dina's
that.
looking confused.
no,
Yeah, I'm
Oh.
I'm confused.
You're not?
and
I thought you were.
we can get you something on that, but I don't know if we have anything to announce or promote on that right now.
I don't know what he said.
He said, do we have anything to announce or vote on?
There's
nothing to announce or vote on. Carrie, the process of flowing things to you and then you approving it, Holly helping us, how much is that going to be impacted by you having to cut Holly's hours?
Sure, so I can address that. So right now, without a permanent staff person, which was the senior admin person, and now it will be a planning tech, I have been using Holly probably a little bit more. With the budget cuts, we are definitely going to be focusing that on the planning technician for news articles, website articles, things like that. However, Holly still does approvals for anything that gets posted on social media, because there needs to be one person controlling that, and that is her for the city.
Okay, so for example, the next education
would like to share out is with the Rockies Institute in the last spring carbon conversations we have June on electric vehicles. And so if I send you a word, Terry, will the city still help share that partnership?
Yeah, so sharing news of community events is part of Holly's base contract. And putting out the newsletters, and I don't know how much that is changing. That's not in my department, but that's the new budget starts July 1st. So my planning tech won't be on board until after that. She's going to be starting beginning of July. So anything that's like, it sounds like this is happening in late June, you said, Dina?
yes. So the May carbon conversation, I don't think ever got promoted. Even though we did.
Pass it on to you and Holly, so I want to make sure I do whatever.
I need to.
Got it. And, frankly, it might be because we're all extremely busy and we just missed it.
Yeah.
If it's not an actual city event, it's not quite the same priority as when it's a city meeting or something that is automatically in the newsletter. But definitely, if you get that to me, I will, if you get it to me this week and if you know the dates and everything.
I do,
then-
and I can.
Yeah, then I'll just be able to get it to her early and she can put it in the newsletter.
Okay, maybe just give me a little reply so I know it didn't get lost because people are swamped, which I understand. But be reminding people of things when I don't have an
I would
answer.
say if you don't hear from me in 2 or 3 days, don't feel like you're bothering me. Just say, hey, and I remember Rich did that to me today on something that was a sort of a side project that she was asking advice on. Oh, okay, yeah, this is. So definitely don't feel like you're a pest.
Okay, and then when my term ends, somebody else will need to do this job.
Right. And again, it may be, if it's not social media or the city newsletter, but it's something like the website or whatever, the planning technician will be able to do all of that stuff on the, yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully when the new website is out there, it would be easier for people to find what
I
we.
think it will be. I actually had like a 3-hour meeting with Holly and Elise, our planning technician, on Monday to review how everything is linked up and, from the general public, okay, climate, like there's a climate action on the planning's website that doesn't go into anything on the planning department page. It goes directly to the committee. And then there also is a link on sustainability stuff so that people aren't thinking the committee, they're just thinking about sustainability and search sustainability. They get that information, but they will be creating links back and forth between those two. So it's easy to find. So
Yeah, because right now, like say you wanted to find the next compost giveaway. When it gets posted, there's like a lot of layers to click through.
yeah, we're trying that. The new website will reduce that quite a bit, I think. I mean, not, there's still stuff that it needs to live in a department or on a particular page. That's how web architecture works. I'm learning. I'm not a web architect. I'm a real architect. But this will be much more simple and cleaned up. You know, part of that is there's a lot of stuff on the website that just never got taken down and it's like 10 years old or more. So that's part of that is this cleanup stuff too. And then
Yeah.
also
The other communication thing, I don't know how this is gonna evolve, but Ruby joined the outreach group and she came to our last working group meeting and she volunteered to do some social media posts, which we're still in that quandary, like we don't have our own social media, but so I don't know what will come of that, but she's willing to format some post or make some or something. So,
oh, and I see Alex has his hand up, so
Yeah, I'm working on a proposal with Ruby to propose a path forward on that, Dina, just so you know. But yeah, we'll once we have a little bit more of a solidified piece of exactly where we're going to go with Ruby, I'm kind of helping guide her to what she wants to do with the social media thing.
and Alex, I apologize. There's a little bit of a delay because I actually need to make sure that I muted and unmute you on my laptop. So just because of our tech setup today, could you repeat what you were saying?
Yeah, I'm working with Ruby to develop a proposal for the social media for what she wants to do in terms of like exactly and what she wants to do, how she wants to contribute, and how it's gonna kind of look. And maybe there's a process that we'll work through too, and then that might end up, whatever we need approval for, with whether it's through this committee or the city council, we can go through that. But I'm kind of helping onboard her and get her going on that project because she's really excited about doing some social media stuff.
Okay, that sounds good. And that will, yeah, so I'll say, any messaging that goes out needs to be approved by city staff if it's going out under the advice of the Climate Action Committee. As most of you probably know at this point, that's kind of why we can't just having, and we have record retention requirements for anything that goes out on social media. That's why Holly is the only person who does it. And it also needs to be monitored and safe stuff happens with it. And that's part of her job. Content creation to help us with stuff like the electrification survey flyer and all of that kind of stuff that this committee does is super helpful. So creating articles, creating content, that kind of stuff, if that's part of Ruby's interest, that I think is great.
Sure. Were you wanting to say something?
Joshua,
Go ahead, Joshua.
Yeah, just a quick question while the subject is up. What's the ETA on the website looking like at this point?
Good question. I think it's sometime in June. It's, there's stuff that staff has to do. That is sort of trickling and being done. It's one of the reasons I had a meeting with Holly on Monday, is we had all sorts of stuff that was tagged to have its own page, and it didn't make sense to have its own page. So we went through and we said, okay, delete this, and this, link this, do it this way. They're doing a little bit of that for us to get that straightened out for exactly kind of what our department needs. And I know it's just kind of, but it's getting there. I would say probably another month will be.
See if I can maybe turn those off. It seems like we have a kind of a loud fan in here and it makes it kind of hard to.
I'm okay with that. They'll be like an hour or so before city council to cool it back down. I think it'll be fine.
It's pretty nice in here. Is anyone bothered?
I was when I walked in, I'm not now. And it's all on my floor, so.
I don't know if it's possible to just turn it off. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the thermostat. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Anyone else have questions about the outreach approvals process, communication workflows? Sorry. No. Are you? Yeah, go ahead.
There's been a couple of inquiries that were directed to me through the old Fastball climate action committee and people interested in getting involved. Refer them to meetings, refer them to the website. And I don't know if there's one list that would hold all the people in, or we have two different lists of general interests, or. So there's that question of maybe we need. How can we improve our processes to take advantage of people that are interested in helping us in this effort? I think some of that, of course, would be getting a little more info about our working groups and what they're really up to, and potentially some meeting dates if it's known. So that was it.
Carrie, you have your hands up.
I think that maybe this is an item for a future meeting, because it's kind of a. Fair. You know, it's need some discussion. But there's. Did you have something to do? Well, there is a sign up on the city website that you can put your email in to get climate related email.
Yep.
And that.
So that, don't forget her name, Steve, that you were forwarding that she.
She was already, Holly let me know she was already on that email list. And so I think the other way I always tend to meet people is they send an email that I guess the chairs read and they distribute that to the appropriate working group.
Yeah, although I think we should probably, when we're distributing those, in that, you know, here's so-and-so, we should say also, please sign up, give them the link to the city website to sign up for emails.
Yeah.
Because are we not I thought education outreach was actually keeping a separate email list.
I thought there would be an email list from that first.
The engagement series from the
But one did not really, a comprehensive list did not emerge from that.
So.
Hey, Dina, I can't really hear what you just said, and I just want to make sure I hear it.
So during the climate action framework, we did collect, and Phoebe collected a number of emails. I have that and Holly has that. That is outside of someone signing up on the city's website, because our policy is that we don't subscribe people to newsletters. We tell them how to do it themselves. That way they can manage it. They can also sign up for other things that might be of interest, like council and planning commission and emergency stuff and that kind of stuff. And you're right, that is if you go to the main website, or on any page, there's a little subscribe button on the right-hand side. That is exactly, you click that and it brings you a page that says, what's your name, what's your email, what do you want to subscribe for? You check the boxes, and then that creates an account, and you can always go back and change those settings by logging on. So that's.
So, yeah, I just put it in the chat.
Oh, perfect.
What happened to, I didn't realize coalition didn't get incorporated with the city because of that policy you just mentioned.
Yes, when we have climate related items, so, and this is kind of the old school way, and I'll admit it is my sort of old school public participation training that I have, is you have a community meeting or some sort of meeting, someone puts their name on a list, the sign-in sheet, do you want to be contacted, what's your email? I then take it, I actually have I have like a huge number of interest groups on my own Outlook, and when there is a housing and homelessness, or the Bodega Avenue project, or I send out to those groups if there's things going on. But Holly also has that, so when there's like an event like the compost event, we can push out to that group as well through constant contact, which is what I know that's the messaging that she uses.
So Carrie, who who has the authority to send messages to the emails that have subscribed on climate issues?
The subscription on climate issues would be Holly, or I can, say, hey, Holly, can you send this out to that? There is also a way where we can tag stuff and it should get automatically notified.
Okay, so if the Climate Action Committee wants any information to be distributed to that email list, it sounds like the best bet would be to specifically state that when communicating with you or Holly.
Yes,
about
that would be,
any
yeah,
PR.
that would be helpful.
But they're two separate
that
email
would-
lists. One
And
is
there's
people
probably not a
who
lot of overlap out of them.
technically
Like, I
subscribed
guarantee
and
you-
others people who
Yeah.
submitted their email through any other format.
Correct. Yeah, and there's, I can guarantee you there's a lot of overlap, just like there was with the housing interest list between people who subscribe on. They're the same people who come to all the council meetings all the time for all the various stuff. So there is a lot of overlap, so we'll get dual messages. But because it all depends upon what the person did, right? If they
Yeah.
subscribe, they're gonna get everything that goes to the subscription. If they submitted through Phoebe, then they're gonna be on that other list.
That's
Got it.
controlled by you. That's a list that you use.
I have those emails and so does Holly. So either one of us can have that. We have that list, just like with our housing element. when people wanted
are there
information on that.
Things that go to the list, the constant contact list that are not on the city subscription list, like if someone is contacting us directly on our email, should we just tell them to subscribe to the city or should we
Just
say,
subscribe to the city. That's the
and they'll
best
get
way to do
everything.
it, because
like,
that's,
because like if you're sending something to that other list, it also goes to the city list?
so if it's more likely to go to the subscribe list, because I
Okay.
have to remember to send it
Got
out
it.
to that
Okay.
list of people via an email.
Got it.
And there's definitely things that are more, my training is more project related. So when it was like local hazard plan or the housing element or whatever, I kind of think about that more often.
Got it.
There's so much communication on the climate and there's so many stuff happening on the climate. They'll get it through the website subscription link far better than
So-
Carrie remembering to send an email out.
Harry, what
to her
about,
group.
what about the idea of sending a group email to that constant comment list? Contact list, and giving them the link to
Asking
subscribe.
them to
And
subscribe
asking
and then
them
just.
to please subscribe
Yeah.
so that they can be assured of receiving future climate action
I think
communications.
that's an excellent idea.
Maybe
I will
we
do
can
that.
Funnel it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to have the two lists other than we
Yeah.
have the one, and yeah, it's.
I've got a follow-up question on that. It's actually not just two lists. Because there's the list that we've been gathering at the compost. And now we have 212 names from electrification, so. I guess I'm a little concerned about our repository of data, kind of one true source of data.
Right.
No.
So I would say, yes, thank you. And so if you have the list of people who took the city survey and asked for more information, that 212, if you give that to me, we should combine that with this other list that I have. We can then send out a blast that says, hey, you took the survey or somehow other, in some other way asked to get news about climate. Can you please go and subscribe here and send them the link and have them do it that way?
Right. And if we do future lists like tabling efforts, we should also direct them to that central subscription.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And you could have a tablet where they could just do it right there. Or a
Yeah.
laptop or something. if
Good
you
idea.
wanted to, or they could do it on their phone.
I just want to circle back around to that other related question that we had going on a little bit ago about what do we do when somebody emails in and says that they're interested in Climate Action Committee? What I've been doing for those folks in general is responding saying, one, you're certainly welcome to attend our regular meetings, but you're also welcome to check in with the contact address on the various working groups because those groups meet more often. There's more happening there in some cases. So I've been sort of encouraging that. Quality, and along those lines, I noticed that our working group list is not updated, which I know is kind of in progress because I saw it our new working group list. But also, so far as I can tell, the work plan, I don't know that the work plan is up on our page. I was kind of sifting around for it a little bit. And in that is a handy list of here's sort of some of the things that the groups are working on. I just think it would be great to have that a little more upfront so that people can say, oh, that project sounds good to me. Therefore, I should contact this working group and start to pitch in that way. So
Has it been
That's
updated?
it.
No, it hasn't. So is the webpage still in the process for Climate Action Committee?
The new website is in progress for everybody.
Right,
I can make changes. I can add that right now. I don't remember, add it in the middle of the meeting, I could add it right now, but that's.
But I'm gonna put it on the action items. Carrie will add work plan to website.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Any other questions or comments about communication workflows before we move on?
I just want to say thank you all for your patience. It's a lot of stuff going in and out, and I know I missed stuff, so thank you.
Well, we appreciate everything you're trying to do.
Yeah, and I will say on I just want to reinforce the idea, if you send an email to a staff member, a council member, and you don't hear, like within 3 days, do not ever hesitate. I mean, I do this with Carrie, I do this, they do that with me. It's like, hey, resending you this message of May, whatever, 1st, hoping that you can get to it soon. Know you're busy.
Bump this to the top of your
I mean,
inbox.
just, yeah, it's, and it feels a lot better to have that reminder than to completely miss
Right.
the
To go back
boat.
2
And
months when
it's
you're
like,
getting your emails and go, oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
totally missed that.
So
and
don't
that's
hesitate.
done now and you didn't get it out. Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Okay, Dina, do you have to leave early?
No, because we're not on.
Because we're not on the side. Okay, just checking.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Wanted to
can
make
I-
sure we got you. Joshua, you do have to leave early.
You have to leave
Is
early.
there anything that you wanted to address before you leave on the remaining
Just the
agenda?
next item, I believe, working group reports, things not on the agenda.
Yeah, you want
Stuff
to
like that.
take,
I'm sorry, can I
Yeah.
just ask, when is the EV meeting that you were talking about?
The first
Wednesday. Isn't,
First Wednesday in June? Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
We're gonna
Have some EVs.
Yes, that is June 7th.
If you've never been to a public conversation event, they're pretty amazing.
And it's at the Grange? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Starts at 7, doors open at 6:30.
all right. So working group reports for anything not on the agenda. Joshua, you want to take it away?
Okay, yeah, so just to say on the sequestration working group front, we weather notwithstanding, we had another successful compost event, so 2 weeks ago now, more or less. It's pretty well established at this point. We're getting a lot of repeat people, having no trouble getting rid of 80 yards in a day, more or less. The next day I went by and there was, dregs on the parking lot and that was it. So all is well on that front. We will be doing 2 events in the fall. Again, I believe it's first weekend in September and October. Did we set those dates? Okay. Okay, yeah, I feel like maybe we set those dates anyhow. We'll set those dates. We'll do that. We'll have that for next time. Anyhow, more to be happening on that front. Meanwhile, our other task this spring was the community garden revitalization. At this point, it looks like a little bit more than half of the beds, of the raised beds, have been signed up for. There's been some compost being dropped off of the beds. A few particular dedicated volunteers have sort of shown up to help with that. The historical, the longest continuing gardener has kind of agreed to be the point person for the community of new gardeners and kind of help announcing them. So far, so good. We don't think we're quite done yet, but there is definitely some momentum building. We'll probably be looking towards another volunteer workday at some point and maybe later on in the season, maybe more towards late summer, early fall, I think at this point, rather than late spring, early summer. And we'll probably look towards some sort of celebration of the revitalization, something a little more festive than worky later on in the year, and we'll keep everybody posted.
That was a really fun event. The club event, and I think it'd be fun to have some kind of potluck picnic or, something like that. So, yeah, I definitely do again.
Great, thanks, Lisa.
That's
can ask you a question regarding that. So one thing we talked about, box that can be locked up. Fit it, but they're so budget money for that. And that means dollars. That money coming from somewhere else or?
If you can send me the email, I do kind of, I recall talking, so this has always been an issue at the community garden. Sorry, let me unmute myself for the people on Zoom, sorry. So the storage of tools has always been a little problematic at the community garden for a couple of reasons. One is that it's in a floodplain, so building a shed or something like that and keeping, that's most of the tools are garden, they're going to get wet and dirty, so it's not an issue, but building a structure in a floodplain is an issue. There did used to be a shed in the back of it. It had a lot of issues, just the juxtaposition with the skate park and whatnot. It then, I believe, became kind of an open air thing with the fence around it. That didn't work either, because the locks just kept getting cut. So I do have concerns about what that would be. If it's sort of like a job box, work box kind of a thing that's somehow bolted to the ground or something like that. I'm actually feeling like that's probably the best solution, unfortunately.
That's what we're talking about.
Okay,
A job.
so, yeah, so, if you have it kind of picked out, if you can send it to me. I will talk to Dante. I'm not sure if it would need to come out of the parks budget or the park maintenance budget or where.
Okay,
It's not a capital improvement plan, it would just be a
No.
park budget item.
Yeah, trying to think of lots of money that might be appropriate, but
Yeah, and actually, we do get some donations for the skate park every year, so I can also look and see if we have some money there that could be used for it. So.
Well, the good news about it being smaller is it costs them.
Yes, there you go. And I'm glad
Sometimes it's big enough a person can get themselves into.
right, no, I think you guys with the job box, is the way to go. I think that's a great solution for yeah.
and who would have access to these tools?
So far, we got all the gates changed to a combination lock that has the same combination lock, and you just control who gets that combination. And if control is lost, we can sort of change the combination and
Yeah.
mouse and just.
Yeah,
re-in
and that's
re-announce it.
pretty typical. I actually had a community garden plot when I lived in Berkeley and helped build a shed, a tool shed, and that's exactly how we handled it. It was just a combination lock and you could get into the garden and you could get into the shed.
Yeah, I almost wonder once you select the box that you want. It might be worth approaching Sebastopol Hardware, because even they might not be willing to donate it, but they might be willing to sell it at cost. They might be willing. to help in some way.
No, that's actually, yeah, it's for a community garden.
And some tools as well.
Mhm. Especially if you take a photo and do a little PR.
I don't think the city would have a problem with that. So,
I'm just gonna say it.
yeah, it's a local business and we're the only hardware store in town, so.
All right. Anything else from sequestration? Any other working groups that have anything to say today? Yeah, go for it.
Well, the funding. So, as you have heard a little bit about it in the last meeting, maybe the previous one, the RCPA is looking at a potential 2024 ballot measure around climate resilience and adaptation. And various funding mechanisms have been looked at in terms of what can they legally do. County council is saying they only have the authority to do sales tax, a parcel tax, or a vehicle license fee. And, the vehicle license fee was tried before the county and failed with 42% of the vote. It's only a $10 license fee. So at this point, they're going to be going out for a survey. It's costing, I think, $100,000, and it's being funded from the PG&E, part of the fire settlement money. Is
And I think they're really just gonna be looking at sales tax for the parcel tax. And I know that the city is looking at something similar, so tonight.
as a matter of fact, they'll be talking about that in the meeting.
So I was there and pushing for more equitable funding mechanisms and submitted to staff and the board an airport climate fee. What is the possibility of that? And there seemed to be a lot of interest amongst board members. Unfortunately, the FAA does not allow any kind of fee in the airport, either flights or even on the way to or from the airport. The national law, so that pretty much killed that idea. But you know, we'll see what happens in terms of the survey that goes out. If they're really good enough, these only need 2/3, so that's a big hill to climb. And it may not make it, and cities may have to decide from there how they're going to approach any of these efforts, while all of them are also looking at more for their own needs.
So when are they thinking of going out for this measure? Is it November? That would be very soon.
That's what most people do when they do a 2024.
Much better response in general elections, so.
Yes.
And it will coincide with the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, who is also looking at a large measure, and there's talk of a regional housing bond. All
Yes.
those are looked at for the 2024 ballot, so.
And the fire taxes.
And fire.
Yeah, already in the mix. And there's also Ariel Kelly is out of Healdsburg. Mayor out of Healdsburg has a initiative that she's expecting to put on the ballot relating to support for kids, for children. So we're gonna have a lot of people competing for funds out there, and the sales tax, what's the cap, Carrie? I think it's 10.25.
Yeah, I don't think we have much of an issue there, but there's
Some strong equity issues around sales tax, when people that are in the lowest income are paying 3 to 4 times the amount on sales tax as a percent of their income than the highest income people. I mean, it's generally known as regressive. And
I hope so.
the council in their infinite wisdom will look for alternatives.
I'm sure all alternatives will be considered and
Yeah.
all a matter of balancing all the various interests, but, okay, so that's our CPA. Cool, interesting.
Sure.
Zero Waste Committee, I
Yeah,
can
go ahead.
report briefly when you're ready. Okay, so the Zero Waste Working Group has really focused on 2 topics. We meet regularly every 2 weeks. One is the Eco Station concept, which is a sorting booth staffed to help people figure out which bin to put their stuff into, compliance issues. And the other one is a metrics effort, which is dovetailing with an effort of the Climate Action Committee. I think, Steve, you're involved in that, right? To track metrics on how Sebastopol is doing on these climate action issues. Michael Simonitis has been put in touch with Steve so that the information can be shared, and hopefully there can be a combined metrics effort. On the Eco Station, there was a pilot program at the community center. The concept there is to take Alan Siegel and Shelley Brown's Eco Station concept from the Gravenstein Apple Fair and try to expand it to other settings. And so it was very effective at the community center for a small event. And then they are now, Alan and Shelley, in combination with Ambrosia, are working with the Rotary Club in order to provide some advice and direction regarding their upcoming event at Ives Park, which is the Tommy Castro concert, which is expected to have a lot of people and a lot of foods. The Eco Station won't be set up there by Alan and Shelley because unfortunately they're out of town. Actually, they're doing the Forestville Youth Park fundraiser flipping burgers, but so they aren't available, but they are providing advice and direction. So hopefully that'll help with a lot of general contamination of recycling and compost that happens at the events at Ives Park, and they end up just going everything into landfill. So those really are the two kind of initiatives of the Zero Waste Working Group moving forward on those two items.
I have a question.
You probably experienced the whole Apple Blossom Festival, lack of handling the waste. It would be great to have those. expectations. And I thought it city event that they're required to do that, but are we exempting ourselves from that?
No, they are required to. The problem was that it's a problem, honestly, that I've seen many nonprofits facing. It was a lack of volunteers. So Ambrosia Thompson oversaw that effort, and she had a handful of volunteers. And so what happened was, yes, the city required that there be the various bins. And in fact, the various bins were out there. But what she didn't have was volunteers who could staff those bins and make sure that people put the right things into the right bins. And so as a result, they ended up contaminated. She did spend hours afterwards going through the bins herself, sorting out everything that she could. But her real challenge was a lack of volunteers. Now, the chamber shifted things a bit around this year. A lot of it was new because Mariah Volk it was her first time trying to, as the chamber ED, trying to run this event. So I think there were a lot of lessons learned. At city events, what happens is the event coordinator, in fact, pays for all of the trash that is carted away. So there is an incentive. They don't pay for compost or for recycling. There is an incentive, and they do suffer consequences if they have more trash and less recycling and compost. But yeah, the expectation is there. Need more volunteers to keep these things going, and it's really hard.
I just wanted to say something about the energy.
So it's been a really nice sequence to be able to have these compost containers that are free. To have those to entice people over to our table at the farmers markets and also the apple blossom. And then to ask them to fill out the survey. And then to just be able to talk to people about, answer their questions and, you know, it's been a wonderful kind of 1, 2, 3 step to engage people and to let them know what's out there in terms of incentives and opportunities. And so that's been good. I just wanted to thank Ambrosia for help with all that. Getting the containers to us.
Stephen, the city does not exempt herself, but it's also a chamber event, not a city event.
Yeah.
And
Dana too, and who?
That's a lot of those.
Oh, okay, and then Steve, I heard much more. Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Cindy.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so outreach working group has this idea to have kind of a master calendar to put
Events and
reoccurring things like the Sebastopol Plants College.
nobody's written events and
I think we're working on that, but I think that hold up might be technology.
like
What's the best calendar and how many people should have
access to it.
So if anybody has any input on that, then go ahead and listen. So we have a calendar of like action committee.
Things that are going to happen and things that are reoccurring.
In one place, so where is that one?
Yeah, so the one piece that I can share is that the community calendar so Laura Hager has been maintaining the community calendar and the Visit Sebastopol website, but her contract ends at the end of June. And as of now, there is no plan and there is no funding or continuing the community calendar, which is where I would say would be the best place.
It's more internal, like the deadline for writing that news article for.
Oh, just an internal
times,
calendar, okay.
The working group meeting times, that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
so do you have any suggestions?
You know, the only thing I can think of, because Phoebe made good use of Google Docs, if there's a way to do a shared Google calendar.
Yeah, that was one thing we
Anyone
talked
in the
about.
committee could just see it.
Yeah,
Or I think you can still also set up edit privileges, I think, but I don't
Yeah.
know if that would be a huge issue with.
Yeah, I
people
think-
moving stuff around.
You're gonna have people strongly for and strongly against any platform.
Yeah.
So you can just call it with whatever's, and we will adapt to it. Like, if you're like, I'm like, don't make me go to Google, but like, I'll suck it up, you know? So.
Thanks. Okay, stay tuned.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Joshua.
Thanks, Joshua. Okay, anything else from your group? Thank you. Those were great updates. Anybody? Yeah, go ahead.
Metrics group, we've met a few times and there's
Four of us. And we've gone through and created a template
For-
for metrics that will come back before the committee. And we completed 2 draft metrics that you can use for review. We hope to do another one before we finally do come back before the committee to get some look at them.
Yeah.
Where we go from here.
So does metrics want to be on the list of working groups?
I think Jerry will be fundamentally opposed to that because he sees these things as efforts.
It's a
that we do
project.
around
Okay.
task, a
Yeah,
project,
okay.
and that can pull from various people into that task and would be covered.
Task-based group.
task list group.
All right, thank you. Anyone from transportation? Emmett, are you? Emmett left. Emmett had to leave. Yeah, so I think we don't have anyone from transportation today, except Alex. Do you want to say anything about transportation?
I don't, just.
Alex,
my-
yeah, I'm gonna unmute you now if you can repeat yourself. Sorry, we have, yeah.
The main update is that Zeno's in Europe, so there hasn't been a lot going on, unfortunately, but there's still a lot of projects we're working on. And I believe we're gonna present the EV proposal next meeting. So that's our main update.
Okay, so you want that on the next agenda?
Yes.
Thank you.
And I did get one update of someone being added to the working group for that. Phil, yeah.
All right, so that's a perfect segue to chair reports. So reviewing the working group list, you all got a chance to look at it and say, I'm in the wrong places, I'm in the right places, etc. Please. Oh, did she officially? Yes, she's in there, I believe, on the education outreach.
I think she wants to do this in consideration.
Oh, she does. Okay.
We haven't had a meeting, just compost, but she showed an interest in that.
I think what she told me was she couldn't go to that one.
Okay,
So maybe because there weren't meetings. I don't know.
Probably check with her next.
We'll check with her next time.
put a question mark.
Yeah. All right, we already talked about ethics training and then just Apple Blossom recap, just as you said. I don't know if it was you or Mayor Hinton or who kind of grabbed that booth, who put us in the perfect location.
Yeah.
But it was really fun to do the parade, and I think it'd be more fun to do a little bit more organized thing. But the interactions were just so meaningful. And thank you guys for making that happen, Steve and Lisa, for
Well,
manning it, holding it
was
down, but
awesome.
the location was just amazing.
Oh, was it a good location?
It
it
was the
seemed like
best
it.
location in the whole fair.
Right by food and
And
all the way.
everybody was coming in from both, it was the opening. to-
Yeah.
So everyone was like walking right towards us
Mhm.
and no big lines right in front of us. It
Yeah.
was just perfect.
Yep,
Yeah.
that was, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and that was the chamber. They, when I contacted them, I asked, since city is sponsoring, is there a fee that is due? And so the booth, there was no fee associated with the booth, which was great, but it was a great location they gave us. And that was just Mariah assigned us. Actually, it wasn't. Who was overseeing the vendors? Oh geez, Janet. So Janet, she also runs the Bodega Bay Fisherman, Janet Seal. So Janet Seal was in charge of vendors. She organized the layout, and yeah, that's where we ended up. But the main thing was that it sounds like the Climate Action Committee members who were staffing it really felt like it was vibrant and people were there and they were sharing information. I mean, that's the sense I got, right?
Oh, so much so. Yeah, there were so many people who just said, you know, this was really useful, like that one pager that Steve put together.
Mhm.
A lot of people were very excited about that and wanted to make use of it. And so, yeah.
Yeah, and I love as I observed what was going on, some of these booths, what happens is the people working the booth sit down and they just kind of engage in their own conversation. But this booth, all of those who were staffing it, you were, public facing out. And so people would come up and be curious about the buckets or something on the table, the plants, remember that the high schoolers, I think, were selling. And there would immediately be someone from Climate Action who was right there just kind of saying, hey, yeah, what do you think? And sharing information and engaging in conversation. So I think it was a really positive opportunity, and they all went away with something. And some woman came back for a second bucket. I don't know what she was doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's something
Yeah.
that you think for next year would be worth doing again?
You know, I think the buckets were a huge draw. I
Mhm.
don't know if we'll be able to get more buckets, but I mean, even without the buckets, I think we provided a good service, it felt like, to a lot of people, so.
Well, and the Russian River watershed materials that were little coloring books and games.
Yeah,
I mean, there was a lot that was engaging, that was interactive.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, we'll
it
get
was
to it
very
for next
helpful.
year.
And a lot of people were really interested in that induction cooktop that we
Mhm.
bought too.
Yes.
And it's $69, and I don't have to turn on my gas, and wow, especially for renters, a lot of people hadn't really thought about that before, so.
Yeah, so yeah, there was enough tactile,
Yeah.
touchable, and you can take away with it. So next year, again, would be a good idea, is the general sense I'm getting. And
Yeah.
the parade, yes?
I think if we don't have to pay, maybe with a little more organization and plan,
Yeah.
it was so last minute of like,
I know,
are we, aren't
yeah.
we, all that, but yeah, it was fun.
So it's one of the things to think about now is if you want to do the Apple Fair, because that's.
Right, I was thinking about
Yeah.
that.
4 months away.
The Gravenstein Apple
Yeah,
Fair?
yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Boy, I'll tell you, last year when we were there,
Mhm.
we had a spot that was so discreet. Nobody could
Yeah.
even find us, and hardly anybody came to
Uh-oh.
us, and it was quite warm, which the good
It was
news was
hot.
we were in the shade,
Yeah.
but the bad news is that not a lot of people found us at all.
Oh,
It was a great spot in terms of shade, but I think if we were more central with a pop-up,
Yeah.
and we had the housing element there too, and it was a little,
It was,
yeah,
we
it
were
was hard to
hidden,
engage
and-
people.
but It's so often that it is
Yeah.
very hot at that event. I mean, a lot of
That's-
years, it's like
was-
a scorching event.
was this a city booth? I mean, if the house.
No, it was just the climate.
Well, no, it was the
Yeah,
city.
yeah, so, I mean, this was our housing element, some of our outreach from the
Okay.
city going
Got
out and
it.
doing that, yeah.
Huh.
You can attract people who are Mr. then if it's.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
We could
Or
talk
solar
about.
powered.
That's actually a good idea.
Even people who are trying to find us, I heard gave up. They
I-
walked all around. and like-
Maybe it's just
Yeah.
a different kind of event.
I mean, it really might be like, if we think ahead and we start, if we really have like some good visual materials about heat pumps and cooling, in home cooling on this very hot event. You know, we have a mister.
But how much population is residents versus out of towners? Is it worth our
I
while?
think
Well, for me, it doesn't matter, you know.
it's a lot of, I feel like the Apple Fair has more residents than the Apple Blossom does, honestly. I mean, more of my friends go, more people I know go to the Apple Fair.
Maybe you could get located next to one of the eco stations. that Alan
Exactly.
That's
showed.
really the better though.
Yeah.
Diana,
Right.
that is such a good idea.
Yeah.
And maybe
Because,
they
you
can-
know, a lot, it felt sometimes like we didn't really, it was nice to be able to talk to people, you
Mhm.
know, it's like like Kenna and the other people who were there. But, yeah, if we could actually assist people with their sorting and.
That's
benefits,
actually good, because then if there's a need for
Oh, that's
volunteers or
interesting.
whatever.
Yeah.
just synergy there.
Yeah.
It's a really good idea.
Oh, that's a
Coordinate
good
that.
idea.
It's a Great strings for the blossom.
I will follow up with Ambrosia and maybe we can do this. Would love to help with the sorting effort at one of the eco stations. Can we set up the climate action booth next and then next to it and
Yeah.
be
I think that's
supportive?
excellent.
Because we could have definitely, we had the manpower or the
Yeah.
woman power
Yes,
to do more than we
Mhm.
were by sitting on
Okay.
our butts.
okay.
You
That's
could actually. I mean, I'm thinking about it, you could actually have compost, if you have the compost sorting bins, the sequestration group would have like the compost. You know,
Oh,
about composting.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
At
that could
home or
be
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you do when
You
you
have a
have too
big-
many apple trees and they fall to the ground? Cause I
Right.
know I'm probably not the only person who has that problem. It's really
Cleaning.
hard.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of,
that would
they
be
make
fun.
great compost. I've done it with
Yeah.
apples. Get-
Yeah.
get
All
rid of
right.
Wormy or whatever, right?
Okay, I will follow up with Ambrosia and Alan.
So I will put that on for the next agenda to follow up on Apple Fair.
One follow-up to that is, we gave away 75 compost buckets. So kind of what Lisa was saying earlier, that this is very much in demand and a draw. And I think at that festival, if we did it 2 days, we'd give away quite a few. So I know the city's budget isn't the greatest. I did talk to Ambrosia. Is it possible that we can purchase?
Recology.
Right.
Yeah.
We've exceeded our allotment here in Sebastopol by far.
We are,
And,
but
Recology
has more money than the city.
right,
For each, we've exceeded Recology's allotment for Sebastopol.
right.
I know, but I'm just
Yeah.
you might get more money out of Recology.
Then, yeah, then
Possibly, maybe if they funnel it through a nonprofit, that, we could get them at a reduced price or something like that, that it's an incredible resource to draw, and
Every farmer's market, we could have given away twice as many.
Yeah.
At the fair, we could have given away a whole lot more. People were like, oh, you're out of them. Oh, shoot.
Yeah. Well, I should have taken home the ones in San Luis Obispo that were just sitting in people's garages not being used.
Yes.
Anyway. I'll get me started. Like, really, guys? So we celebrate recology.
Or I think it doesn't have to be compost bucket, like we can think of,
Something to give away.
Right, we've done a lot of other things like the metal straws and, you
Yeah.
know, those types of things that are.
yeah, we had those there. Yeah, we had the metal straws, and I know there was this other bucket like.
We had the
under your
Sebastopol
sink,
which were-
what was that for?
Much
That
of
one
that
was, yeah,
People like.
These are very much in demand.
yeah.
And they're quality buckets.
I have to Ambrosia relocation near Eco Station and need more buckets, exclamation.
All right. Awesome. Okay. Anything else for working, about anything working group list, ethics training, Apple Blossom, blah, blah. I think we can move on from chair reports. Do we want Dina to talk about community regeneration or?
Just that. I think the conversation they have But
Okay.
it came about because when her and I get together, we have some really great discussions, and she said, I miss having brainstorming and discussions with the climate action people, because she was around with the grassroots group too. So
Mhm.
she's been around a long time. And anyways, just her and I start brainstorming stuff, so we thought, wouldn't it be nice to think outside the box with everybody again?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think it's timely in terms of budget constriction, change of council, change of like state funding, you know,
Burnout.
like, yeah, you know, like what, you know, where do we want to point our arrows and how do we want to move forward? So I think it's timely to have a, you know, we got through the framework and we have our work plan and we can just do that, but it does feel like like maybe our feet aren't always underneath us. So yeah, I'm for it, but not today. That's what you're saying.
Well, there's hardly anybody.
I know, but it was so nice, you know? Okay, we'll table that. And so does anybody, what I have for the next agenda is, discussion of community regeneration, library art project, EV proposal, Apple Fair, welcome Ruby. And then for future meetings, unclear when, if there's more discussion of the email lists, kind of moving forward.
Hey, Ken, I could tell you like one idea, just in case people want to store it in the back of their heads. So Sonali went to that Barlow thing where they were talking about the hotel to get tax money for basketball. And we kind of came up with this thought that with housing, developers are supposed to have a certain amount of money or housing go to affordable housing, but if you're just the status quo economy person, like, well, hotels have always brought tax money in, which we need, and you know, you still are on the same path. Where what would it look like to have something that alongside that path was more community building and less of the same old that is causing a lot of the problems we have? Does that make sense? So if you were doing something that was standard economy to make standard growth or provide money for substance, what if you also had to provide something that was more of a value that was not about standard economy or growth? What if you had to provide a value to the community some other way? Or what could that look like?
Sure, so and I'm not entirely familiar with this, but Councilmember Gurney was, and proponent, and it is in our general plan for community impact reports. So you've heard of environmental impact reports, but to do community impact reports for larger projects as well. And she did send me it was sort of templated out before I got here, but she did send that to me, and so that is. It's not something we've moved on and adopted as a city, but certainly it is. I mean, anything that requires a use permit, that's part of the lens that the planning department looks at things through. You know, just in terms of the use permit criteria, I shorthand that to be, is it in the best interest of the community? Which includes all those factors. It's, you know, the health, safety and welfare. Is it in the interest of the health, safety, welfare of the neighborhood, surrounding area, and the community and the city? So I'm happy to share that with you if that's of interest to you. And it is in our general plan. Our planning commission, it did not get adopted by council when it was done originally. I'm not sure exactly what that process was. But our planning commission will be looking at their work plan either late June or early July, either in their June meeting or their July meeting. You know, just in terms of the nice to haves versus the what do we need to do, it's a nice to have. In terms of having the staff to be able to put that together and move that forward compared to like the vehicle mile travel and reduction of vehicle mile travels, which we actually have a grant to do this year and need to complete this year because it's state law as well. But I'm happy to send you what we do have on that. I can also update you, the Barlow did withdraw their proposal for the hotel. They are moving forward, I believe, with replacing the foundry building, the brass foundry building with the new building, basically in the same place.
That's just kind of a general concept of,
Can we come up with things that are
beneficial to our community that are outside of the box of the standard growth model.
And
You can argue
being really
like
poor,
poor,
not having
having
any
any
services
is not healthy for the community.
Right.
You don't have
To send me anything, but it's good to have that.
Yeah.
Any other discussion?
It's called the community impact report is the concept.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of what you already have in like the housing ordinance. If someone comes in and wants to do a development, they have to provide a certain number of affordable housing units as a condition of their efforts. So there's a kind of conditioned, which is, conditioning something that will not necessarily, if you want to do something that's profitable, then you also have to do something specific that serves the community. And I think that's kind of more the direction that you're going, is some sort of
Right.
conditions.
Yeah, like I
I
knew
think
that.
that existed in housing.
Is there any other way?
It can exist in any other realm. I don't know.
Yeah, the only kind of, and this isn't what you're talking about. The city does have development impact fees, but that's basically, okay, you're producing this much more traffic with your thing. Here's the city's general plan of how we're gonna improve and accommodate that traffic. New light, a new crosswalk, that kind of stuff. Here's the per room or per unit fee you need to pay for it, but that doesn't really address that more esoteric. That's about impacts and infrastructure, right? That's not about the more esoteric not esoteric, but the more it's different from what you're talking about. I think.
Yeah, this is what we've been doing. What can we think of?
Change that more. Is there anything? I don't know.
I'd be interested in seeing the community impact stuff, Carrie, especially around that potential Barlow Hotel.
Well, we haven't done that analysis. I just have the template that was, or the sort of the form
Oh, okay.
of what it would look like.
Okay.
Like I said, it was never adopted by the city, and the Barlow Hotel never got far enough to
Okay.
do anything.
I'd still be interested.
Yeah, but I'm happy to share that form with you.
Okay.
So is the hotel happening or not happening?
Oh, yeah, the hotel's happening. It's just.
There's just not a second hotel.
No, the Hotel Sebastopol across from the square is happening.
Okay,
The Barlow Hotel proposal down in the floodplain.
Gotcha.
The actual building has been withdrawn.
gotcha.
It was dropped.
Yes,
Yeah.
they showed it a couple weeks ago.
They did?
He's mere, yeah, it's.
Oh.
No hotels in the floodplain, apparently.
But
Yeah,
that's a
but
niche
niche
market,
market,
you know,
you know,
like
like
the
the
ice
ice
hotels. Hotels underwater.
Oh, yeah, good point. The
I don't
hotel
think
slash
that's-
aquarium.
I don't think that's what he's
Yeah,
going.
Sorry, was someone asking me for something?
I was.
Yeah.
Can you please add the electrification survey?
Oh, you want to have that to the next one? Great.
Available.
Oh,
You can keep it today if ready.
and Joshua is doing the agenda for next time because I will be on vacation. I might dial in, but I will not be I will not be available in person or to do anything.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right,
Vacation
there's
in
a
a really
statement.
long, actual vacation where I wasn't doing anything in a really long time.
That's all right.
We all understand.
I'm not doing anything
Yours is the
except my one research project for,
You know, if you're truly
Bangladesh.
on vacation, I would strongly recommend you not dial in.
yeah.
Be on
So,
vacation. for
yeah.
God's sake.
All right, so I believe that is it for today. And we will adjourn the meeting early happy to give you all 14 minutes at the very end of this beautiful day. And our next meeting will be in June something. I didn't write it. Thank you. We're adjourned. And thank you to the dialer inners.